forces of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Turn it a little bit and get that motor pop.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from the high desert here in Cottonwood, Arizona. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop, and we are broadcasting live from Fringe FM Studios, KTLK Digital Broadcasting live here. It is Wednesday night, June the 16th, and it's hot. Got up to like 111 degrees today, and it's cooling off here in the desert. Welcome to Lighting the Void. If it's your first time listening to the broadcast, we talk about all things consciousness, conscious exploration, the paranormal, the parapolitical, the eclectic, ufology, quantum physics. Good God, Rohan, we talk about it all, don't we? We'll even talk about white Oreo cookies. That's what we talk about. If you want to support the show, you can. You go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up for the Deep Void, where you can get over 700 episodes of commercial-free archives, plus the Deep Void meditations that will be launching soon. If you haven't got that yet, make sure here, I keep getting messages from people too. Make sure that you check your email that you signed up with. It doesn't do it instantly, but the next day, check your email that you signed up with Patreon, because that's where you sign up at. You have to check your spam folder too, and it should come from a thing called Captivate. You don't even have to put your password or anything like it. It just gives you a special link and it takes you right to it. It's pretty cool. I know Rohan worked his butt off on it. We both did, but you remember all that, right? Aren't you glad it's over?
It's like yes and no. I like to be, the thing is, I know it sounds crazy, but I like to be active and doing things. Do you know what I mean? I'm one of them mission men guys that needs to be doing something all the time.
Doing something.
What I mean? Yeah, so I dropped off a bit, you know, suddenly I didn't have anything to do. For a couple of weeks, I was a bit stuck. I didn't know what to do next. I was like, crap.
Oh, well, that happens.
It's interesting. Funny, isn't it? Weird, isn't it? Yeah, it's weird. Weird, but yeah, man.
Well, you weren't here the night.
The next mission.
You missed it, dude. The cops beat down the door here. I forget. Was it last night or the night before? Maybe it was. No, I think it was Friday night. But the cops beat down the door because they said my car. Check this out. My car, White Thunder. It looked suspicious. I told him that too. I said, "Yeah, I know it does. It definitely looks suspect."
That's classic. I mean, one classic.
Like, there's just this really suspect car from Arkansas outside, so we don't really know what's going on. And I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't blame you.
We don't know you. We don't trust you. We don't know you."
Yeah, yeah. When I went outside, I was like, "Hello," and he's going through the desert bushes and the tumbleweeds and stuff with a flashlight, right? And he finally come out of there, and he's like, "Are you in this building, sir?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in here doing a live radio show right now." Matter of fact, I had to go to a commercial break because you're beating my door down. So what's going on? Anyways, it was pretty crazy. All the crazy stuff happened when you were absent.
Oh,
bro.
that is pretty crazy, man. That is pretty crazy. Didn't that happen to I don't want to name drop too much, but didn't that happen to Heather Wade? Only because it's one of the, I listened to her show about 3 times, and that happened on one of the shows, man.
Well, the cop showed
She
up?
panicked. Yeah, she panicked, and she had a caller, and she said, talk on the phone. There's someone at the door. Make sure there's no dead air. And she was left into it.
I just left dead air.
She come back, and she just come back, man. It was the same sort of things, like, just cops come around with a misunderstanding or something. I think she had some hater.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, he still kind of treated me suspiciously, right? As I walked back in the building, and I said, "Listen, man, I know it still looks suspicious because I got a beat up Honda out there with one mirror on it. I get it, right?" I said, "So why don't you come into the studio?" He's like, "Oh, all right." So he came into the studio and walked all the way to the back where the radio studio is, and he's talking to me. Every time I get into it with the police, I end up talking to him and having to tell the police that I have to go. I can't talk to him anymore. Isn't it usually the opposite? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I got to go, man. I can't keep talking to you. He's a good guy, though. Really good guy.
Yeah.
He said apparently.
Maybe he's interested.
Well, no, dude. Apparently, we got a squatter out here, and I saw the guy. There's a retaining wall right outside the studio here. And at night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, when I'm working on stuff, whether I'm working on the playout system or whatever, which is monotonous, by the way. Rohan's the only one that knows how much work that is. But I heard him rustling out there in the bushes. And I'm like, what the hell? What is that? You know, first thing that comes to my mind, Sasquatch, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, he's sleeping out there. He's got his mask and a little ginger ale bottle and a cigarette. It just freaked me out, man. But it's better than Portland. I got to tell you that.
So you've confirmed it then? Because I remember one night you said, I'm sure there's somebody moving out here. It was about speculating what it was.
Yeah.
Is that there? You was right then.
Yeah, he was sleeping behind the wall. Right, I thought maybe it could have been a chupacabra or something. So, I don't know. But anyways, enough of the ruffian stuff. So we're gonna do tonight. We're gonna have a really special guest on, Neil Guar. Hopefully, I think he's gonna come on. I got him coming on the Zoom channel, but it's gonna be an interesting show. I don't think I've ever talked about this subject before. Our cosmic origins. Have we ever done a show on that before? Like ever?
I didn't notice any skimming through them archives. But you know what? That's one of my big.
I don't think we have. I mean, as far as our cosmic origins go, no. Like we've talked about aliens, ETs, ancient history, all kinds of stuff, right?
Danced around it a bit, innit? Yeah, almost been on it, but not quite. Press that square.
But not.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite topics as well. You know,
not like. I mean, we really haven't really went too deep into this, so I'm kind of excited about it. I hope we get him on. Pacho's been wrestling up to get him on. Portals to Ascension.org is the website, and we're going to be discussing things like our ancient origin, cosmic origin. Has there been an intentional disconnect from our origins? You hear people talking about that all the time, right? The fragments of our souls and fractals and things like that. And our ancient stories actually referencing beings from other planets and dimensions. And does the significance of frequency and vibration permeate all aspects of our universe? That's a big question. And I tend to believe it does. Frequency and vibrations, everything. But well, tell me, what was your vibration while you were gone?
I was just going to say that frequency of vibration. I just need to segue then. I was on about that to 2 musicians that are passing on about like the tone into it, and the more it vibrates, like things moving faster. It's like when you move your hand in front of your face. If you do it really fast, it like blurs, doesn't it? And if you do it fast enough, you can't see it, can you? Do you know what I mean? It's
right.
Like frequencies, everything, tones, everything.
Well,
I've been on a chill vibe, man. I've been chilled out. I've been on a nice vibe, like recuperating kind of thing.
Yeah, everybody. I think a lot of people need that, but I think we do know too. But just like based us humans, we can walk into a room that has a ton of vibrations, right? That's good and it's high and it feels good. Then you can walk into another room and the vibrations are bad, and you can just feel it immediately. So imagine if that's true. We know it's true. I mean, there's too much science to show that it's true. Don't you think? There just is. So I want to do like the Beach Boys say. How do we put off good vibrations?
Yeah. I got to try and build them, I suppose, and just keep doing them.
Yeah. Well, to me, the only things that we can do, right, is the only thing that we can control as humans is our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, things like that. But that's the vibration that we put off of. And the more that we, you know how people say fake it till you make it or whatever, but really it's kind of crazy, this universe we're in, because you can fake it, but if you really, it's hard to explain. I don't know if I ever told this story one time, but you know, everybody buys lottery tickets and they try to, win the lottery magically and stuff, because we talk about magic too. Well, my grandmother was one of those lucky types. You have anybody in your family like that? They usually just hit lottery tickets all the time, stuff like that.
I'm kind of the lucky one, but it's on small scale things. So
yeah, right. So she was that way too. And so one day she was like, hey, son, will you go up to the store and buy me 3 lottery tickets? She liked to buy the big ones. And I don't know how I knew, but I was like, listen, before I do that, I need to take the Camaro. I just sold my cousin a brand new Camaro. I figured I want to feel what it's like to have a little bit more money than I do now, And you just get in that vibration. You get in that kind of wavelength. And then we bought lottery tickets, and something told me the second I handed them to her, I felt a vibration. Robert Monroe talks about this in his book when he was playing poker too, where you just know. You just know. And I was like, congratulations. Those are pretty good ones. She ended up winning like $1,200. And you think that's a coincidence, right? But it's really not, because you got in that vibration, I think.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Do you think that's related to that thing where sometimes you think of somebody at random and then they text you like 10 seconds later?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's why when two people are thinking about each other, it gets kind of manic sometimes. Because
absolutely,
you're both, just, and you keep having all these coincidences, and I think it's very interesting. And so if we can do that, if that's part of who we are on a base level, and we're just tapping into this part of ourselves, then maybe there's an origin to us that we really haven't even tapped into, a forgotten origin.
I think so. In fact, I think I've got my complete thing. I think if you take the Gnostics and put that with the work of Professor Joseph Campbell, I think those two things together give you a rough outline on what it's about. And for me, it summarizes as it's been actually what got me triggered to the final piece was this BLM stuff. Believe it or not, it got me thinking. Oh yeah, because then it got me thinking. I've heard the comment, I don't believe in race, and I thought I don't. But and geneticists say we've got a small gene pool, and yet they say we're always big enough to need subcategorize them. So then I got thinking about our genetics and how they're different. And I've looked a lot into that. And then look at the work of Joseph Campbell. It's basically the Star Wars story. And look at the Gnostics. And I think if you put them together, I think what we've got is the planet itself is a life form that's here as an incredibly unique situation. So it's a very unique planet. So that bit's true. Right, but that's one story on its own. And we happen to be a result of that. And we're an incredibly unique species. I think we're a mass of lots of different species been put together. I think we're sort of naturally occurring as part of this unique planet story. But then other people have noticed it, thought that looks really cool. Let's help it along because that would really evolve this universe. And then other people thought, no, let's mess around with it. Let's use it for us, or let's just screw it up just because we don't like these guys. Do you know what I mean? I think it's the same stuff, man. Same old politics, and we're stuck right in the middle. But it means all eyes are on us. So it means we're the number one thing. We're the number one consciousness cutting edge thing. But we're just at early stages of it. I think we're like potentially super beings.
Yeah.
Because of a bunch of unique situations that came together. And I think that's our true engine history. I think we're all alien Jedi. And that's why we look different as races, bro. Serious, man. That's my theory. We're all alien Jedi. That's why we look different. Even though we've got a small gene pool because we're one thing. But deep
do you think that's why
loads of other stuff.
Do you think that's why we recognize certain people?
Yeah.
Like
I think so.
immediately when you see them, there's
Yeah.
this knowing.
Yeah. That's why I always say, and I don't know if people believe it, that's why I always say my mate Laura, I used to go out with and been out with a couple of times and that, when I recognised her before I first saw her, like a few seconds before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, so then, but because I was not sure of myself and not had dated much and stuff, I assumed that's what love must be when you're in love. Because I used to rationalise that. I think, what the hell's that? But I don't think it is that. I think it's something else. I think it's something a lot deeper.
Well, yeah, you still kind of talk to her too. I mean, you guys are like soulmates,
we've been together
right?
through so much. Yeah, we've been through so much stuff. And like I say, there's certain, because I like to separate things into what they really are. So dealing with people, there's a lot of aspects to deal with. Do you know what I'm saying? So the hurt on things that people say and do, try and keep that separate from the person, because I try and see through stuff, because I know that that's the person that's been through a lot, like I have. I think that's one of the reasons why we relate together. But I also, deep down, feel like some people you've met before and you've worked with before, I reckon. I think sometimes you meet them in life, hang around with them for a bit, and sometimes you're kind of stuck with them because you're both kind of on a bit of a mission together, like soul groups.
Yeah.
I reckon.
And you feel, I think, you know what it is too? I think you feel that stuff too. Like, there's something you're supposed to do. Whether it's, a lot of times I really feel like if it's either it's helping people, loving people, enlightening people, or making the planet better or something, there's always like some project that needs to be done, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why I've always got that sense of wanting to be busy and doing stuff, because I think I've got a lot of stuff to do and it's important to me, but I don't know what it is, Well,
that's an important question or a topic to talk about, because if we do have origins here, then what is, I don't know, like what were we, if it was an alien thing, right? Because we all come from this Genesis, Adam and Eve, God put us here to do this thing. But if God was really an alien, does it really make it different? I mean, I don't think so. I'm so stuck on Robert Monroe. I think that there was something in the cosmos that is trying to create evolved physical life societies so that you can, I don't know, use the bodies like we use cars, but in a way more advanced way, like consciousness, and it just keeps expanding and growing.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. Monroe's onto something there, because I think what it is that it's kind of like getting inside the Matrix and living it for real. Do you know what I mean? Rather than looking at it from that, I think you have to get inside of this experience to truly be on the cutting edge of being able to see it all. Even though it seems like we've got limited sensors, I think looking from the outside, it's too much of a gestalt. It's like looking at a gas cloud, isn't it? I think that's the kind of sort of trick to this place. You have to get in it and forget things to be in it. But once you're in it, you're on the cutting edge of stuff for this experience. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
and then you start remembering.
That's why I don't know. It starts to leak back in, and if you look at it, you get quite a bit of it, and you get But I suppose the tools are there, and I think like we just started with the show with there's people out there, there's societies that we call like savage and tribal and primitive, but they've still got the old skills. They haven't lost those things. They haven't talked to yourself out of it, have they? They can still do stuff. They've still got straight up telepathic people doing hunter-gathering. You know what I'm saying? Because they have to be telepathic.
I think we're going to evolve into something a little bit better. I think I really feel like with the breakaway society stuff that's kind of starting up, the smart city thing and all this stuff, but it's also caused people to really dig into their spirituality, and you get into I don't know, we've had a few guests on talking about biogeometry, people using the old technologies of the Egyptians, let's just put it that way, where you could just use simple things, higher sciences like consciousness and geometry and the star systems and the energies of the planets, things like that somewhere along the way probably got turned into foo-foo, kind of like alchemy did. And alchemy works. It totally works. But we threw it out for some reason.
Yeah, that's all it takes is one guy to talk about turning lead into gold, and the same happened in Ireland. All it took was one guy, one scholarly, expert to say, oh, the theories and stuff is just silly. And then all of a sudden, nobody believes it when everybody did before. Do you know what I mean? It's like one generation, one book comes out. Oh, you're silly if you believe in the fairyland and the land of fae and leprechauns, because that's just fairy tale stuff. And then people stop admitting it and then stop seeing it. It's like, in fact, isn't it just like Constantine, where she hasn't got the sight anymore, and she finds out at the end she has still got it.
You talking about the twin in Constantine?
Yeah, the twin. Yeah, she's forgotten it, hasn't she? And
She said her and her
ignoring it, and
sister,
he says,
we used to could feel the same things, see the same things.
Yeah. And she's denied it her whole life, hasn't she? She's pretending it was just something, and then she gets it all back at the end, doesn't she? And she's like, oh, crap.
Yeah, so we have a lot of ancient books, like the Bible. We have Hinduism, Judaism. We've got the Sumerian text. When you look at this stuff, you could easily see how it could be referencing some kind of alien race. If you really can. But there's still some more questions there to be had. But people like Graham Hancock, Robert Schoch, and others are telling us, well, first and foremost, our history is all messed up, especially when it comes to archaeology. Then we need to keep asking these questions. For sure.
Yeah, the archaeology, like I say, glad you mentioned archaeology, because that's, I don't know if say it's a joke, but they've got some stupid rules, haven't they? And they ignore so many things. I suppose there's a lot of fields of study, isn't it? They just ignore stuff, or they'll say, oh yeah, what's below, what happened, what's below this era there? And they say, oh, nothing. So they don't bother digging.
Yeah, right.
It's like, well, come on.
And even more trippy thing to think about too, there's evidence to show that a lot of this stuff has been intentionally hid. Circumstantial evidence, okay, but evidence enough to show that our ancient origins have been kind of hidden from us.
Oh, in the Smithsonian black vortex of take everything.
That's right, and they've either been hidden, or even the Iraqi war. We had soldiers over there that were picking up monuments, things like that, taking them away, Samaria and stuff, right? So why? Is it because the people that are running the place know or don't know, or, you know, who knows?
Yeah, because they freaking do know. I think the whole Iraq thing was just specifically for that, to go in because they found the grave of Gilgamesh. Because he said, oh, they thought it was in the mythical city. And Saddam was like, no, I'm going to find it. And then he found it. He found the grave of Gilgamesh. What was that city called? Uris or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they found the city of Ur or something. But yeah, and so they go in, and if you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, technically then Gilgamesh should have been 1/3 alien. So if his bones are still there and they actually find the grave, boom, shout, we're having that, aren't we? If it's 1/3 alien, do you know what I'm saying? And then you got to wonder if he's found any technologies, and maybe that's what the weapons of mass destruction were. He's found some ancient tech. So they're like, oh, that could be dangerous. I better get that weapon of mass destruction. Somewhere. You know? That's what I think.
It's crazy.
And like I say, all them Sumerian tablets that got stolen, still ain't getting them back. You know? So we can't read them now, and we can't have Sakurai stitching. You know?
I have a book, man, that has every kind of it's a book of magical alphabets, right? But it has every kind of alphabet language, all the way back to cuneiform on it. There's so many ancient languages and texts. It's so crazy. There's a star language, man. Did you know that? There's all kinds of different languages that were used on this earth. All kinds of different texts. Yeah. What is the name of that book? I want everybody to grab this book too. It's called The Magician's Companion by Bill Whitcomb. And you can see, if you look into the history of this, just how true this might be. How true is it that, well, I don't want to say it's truth, but it sure does seem like some stuff has been hidden from us. Anyways.
Oh, a ton of stuff. Yeah, I know we got a break coming up, but yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, it is. But we're going to talk a little bit about that with our guest coming up too. We're going into our first break here with us. Neil Guar is here with us. Portal2Ascension.org is the website you guys want to check out for reference. We'll be right back. Stay with us. More Lighting the Void coming up. Don't go anywhere.
from PrestonDennett.weebly.com, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box is handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altarbox and get yours while the sale lasts.
Music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google
Play
or the App Store.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Good evening. This is Art Bell, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Lighting the Void. Thanks for joining us. You're listening live here on the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting. We're going to jump right into the broadcast here. I've got my co-host here with us tonight, the Mighty Rohan, and we're going to be talking about our cosmic origins with Neil Gaur. And we had some interesting questions at the beginning of the show, and we're going to ask those questions to him. First, let me tell you a little bit about Neil. And Neil is the founder of Portal to Ascension, which exists to provide a stream of awareness on a range of conscious and paradigm-shifting topics through various forms of media and event productions. And this is a resource for the world as we awaken to the truth of existence, explore our ancient origins, and venture into the cosmos. The The Portal to Ascension online webinar university and global live events are designed to empower all of humanity so we may collectively create a reality based on unity, transparency, and truth. And I like the sound of that. If you want to go to the website, go to portal to ascension.org. And thanks, Neil, for coming on the broadcast. It's cool to have you.
Hey, brother. It's good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Well, I told Rohan before this, like we've done a few shows about our cosmic origins. It's a really interesting topic. It really is. But I'm curious to get into your research, man, because you're pretty passionate about what you do. You're pretty passionate about what these events are about. So yeah, let me know how you got into this. What made you get into this journey?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to cosmic origins, that's just one facet of really, the entire picture of what it really means just to be human and why we're here on the planet, and why don't we have complete remembrance if we have other lives, if we have extraterrestrial lives, or if energy continues, why do we only have this limited awareness of this reality now? So these kind of questions, were definitely with me when I was younger, and it brought me into the extraterrestrial question. But then it also took me really quickly into the bigger picture of just like what it means to be human, really. And that does connect to our cosmic origins. But just to give you kind of a summary on how I got into it all, I was born and raised in England, in London. I moved to California when I was 12 years old. I went to high school here. I would say I was abstract and eccentric compared to, I guess, the normal kid, for sure. Nothing out of the ordinary or anything. But then when I graduated high school and I went to college, that's when I started listening to a lot of more variety of music, connecting with people from all over the world. And then I started also writing poetry at that time. And in my poetry, I would have like different universal questions. Basically, I would be exploring. I wasn't aware of any of this esoteric information consciously at that point. I wasn't aware of UFOs and ETs consciously at that point, but I was definitely like a sci-fi minded person. And that's how my writing came out, my poetry, my short stories. I had the short story about, these different type of two different genders that weren't male or female that lived on another planet. And I created this little short story on it. So as I was doing that, I was also researching online, and I was going to school, listening to bands like Tool and psychedelic rock and things like that. Right. And that quickly led me into discovering some people on the internet that speak about this content. Jordan Maxwell, Nassim Haramein, and William Henry, and Jim Self. Those are the four individuals. Through that awareness right there, that just opened it up for me. I was never really a believer into religion in its entirety. I would call to God, I guess, if something was going wrong in my life, but I really didn't ever think about it so much. And when I started seeing that there were ancient scriptures that talked about these star beings, and these ancient scriptures also talked about, these scriptures that talked about star beings were the original source information that all these other religions that do not talk about star beings come from. So to me, it was like, okay, either everything from the beginning is all bullshit, right? Or maybe there's some truth to the original story, and maybe if I explore the original story, I could figure out what the root of all religion is. And that is where my curiosity went from 2002 to 2008. I was on a journey to find out the root of all religion. And as I was doing so, I uncovered a lot of occultive symbolism and things that really scared me at that point, because there was a lot of conspiracies about, what's been happening to us, who are they, what they've done to us, and all this stuff. So even though I was into spiritual information, I was into extraterrestrials, and connecting that to my religion that I was raised into, which is Hinduism, that obviously there's all types of beings in there, and it speaks about frequency and vibration. As I was doing that, I was also heavily into the conspiracies, and that led me to 2008, where I kind of had a shift. And I'm going really, basically, I'm jumping over a lot, right? But in 2008, I had a shift in which I started concentrating and focusing more on the spiritual aspect, the love aspect, realizing that all these scriptures were talking about vibration and frequency, and giving us a tool and a mechanism to really transcend the challenges and the hardships of this reality by stepping into a more empowered version of myself. And that's kind of why I started Portal to Ascension. And from then till now, we've just explored thousands of topics and worked with many people.
Man, it's so crazy and awesome to hear that you took that whole journey and ended up in a place of love and empowerment, right? Like That's a pretty cool thing, because a lot of us come from, I don't know about you, but a lot of us come from hurt, damaged, painful places, and we send off negative vibrations while we're trying to get to the higher vibrations until we get there, and then you see what it's all about, right? How your life changes, everything manifests different. So, do you believe, though, I just want to jump right out of the gate here and ask, do you believe that there's been an intentional disconnect from our origins? Like something's intentionally disconnected. I feel this way. I just can't explain it, but something's intentionally disconnected us from who we really are.
Yeah. That's such a loaded, comment right there, because it can go so deep, you know, and you can talk about, like, let's talk about the aspect of us being disconnected without our will. Like, we did not want to be disconnected, want to be connected to source. Let's talk about that reality and how that looks. That looks like this world basically where there must be some sort of elite, maybe multiple families, or even some sort of ET higher dimensional connection that has a ruling control over our planet. And by in order to be able to manipulate us, because the human body, not only are we very, very powerful when we're at the aligned frequency, but we're also very manipulative. We're able to be manipulated very well when we're at lower vibrations and frequencies. And, you know, MK Ultra, that's been put out there as definitely real, is a great example of it. And almost every government has declassified documents speaking about their mind control, and it's because of that ability. So what has occurred is many of those that are in power, whether they're humans that incarnated from another reality and there were extraterrestrials there, or whether they're extraterrestrials disguised as humans on Earth, you know, the jury's out on that one. And but there's definitely this nefarious plan, it seems, to keep us disconnected from being fully empowered. Great examples of which would be what they put in our water, what our food supply is, all the things that we're consuming all the time, the media. You can see that all of this is put into a way to really focus and concentrate on our lower chakras and expanding those so that we stay within this survival kind of scared mentality. So if you look at it, and that's just like summarizing very quickly, we can go into details and talk about specific examples that are smoking guns that really prove this. But let's just say that is what I just said is the case, that definitely we can see that there is some sort of conscious, intentional disconnection going on. But then I will add that to everything happens for a reason component of it as well, is that it seems that many ancient civilizations knew that there were cycles of time, and that time expanded out of linearity becomes very secular and things repeat themselves. And within that cycle of time, there's also the position of our galaxy and our planet. Our solar system and our planet within our galaxy that affects our frequency, whether it's higher or lower, that's a human construct, but it definitely affects it, creating distortions and no distortions. For example, we now know that the Earth in our solar system goes around 200 light years above the photon belt, which is the Milky Way galaxy, and 200 light years below the photon belt in a 26,000 year cycle, 13,000 years on each side. So that really does affect our frequency. And this is all things that are going to happen to us anyway. So a lot of times these vibrations, frequencies, the position of our planet, what zodiac sign we're under, we've been under Pisces for the last 2,000 years, we're going into Aquarius, have a direct effect on not only our consciousness, but our experience on Earth. So within that whole reality, you almost feel like, well, kind of like not only are we fully empowered beings, but we're also like a victim to the position of our galaxy and our solar system and the way that it rotates around the central black sun. And those rotations and those frequency shifts directly affect whether we're having an empowered or disempowered, unempowered experience on Earth, right? So is that maybe all these nefarious plans, these unintentional things, a direct connection to the fact that we're meant to be going through these cycles and having these lower dimensional experiences? Or is it an opportunity for us every single time we're in these lower dimensional experiences to fully empower ourselves to transcend and escape out of it? But we keep going through the same karmic cycle and we have the ability to transcend it. So that's kind of, I didn't really give you an answer there, but these are kind of my thoughts, because I really, unless I'm like all knowing, like all powerful, I'm really not going to know the answer. I can only speculate on the different things that can really be included in that.
Well, you did become passionate about this, and it seems like this is your life work, and I understand. That's something I do understand, some kind of calling to keep doing what you're doing, and you're doing a great job, by the way. So I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. So the ancient stories, I understand that it is your belief that these are referencing beings from other planets and dimensions, and when we talk about beings and aliens, there's so much talk in this community, and the reason why I stay away from it a lot is because there's a lot of assumptions. But then when you talk to people like Nassim Haramein and these other folks, they can really show you this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So the problem is that we're trying to figure out, at least on my point of view, is are they interdimensional beings, or are they just simply beings from other planets on spaceships? And if that's the case, then they don't visit as often as we think they do, but interdimensionally, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because now when I say extraterrestrials, I almost always add to it ultra-terrestrials and interdimensionals, because a lot of people think extraterrestrials exclusively means a being that's not from Earth but lives within our dimension of reality, because it could be parallel realities, therefore they exist within our one. And maybe say there's a star that's 200 light years away from us, there's a planet on that over there. These beings found out a way in order to basically travel towards us. And as they do so, they visit Earth, and now they're extraterrestrials. Whereas interdimensionals would be somebody coming from a different dimension. I feel like we should just maybe use one term for all of it. And I'd like to say that extraterrestrial would be a good term, because if you really think about it, time is also a dimension. It's the fourth dimension, and it's also relative to our distance to the sun. So if these beings are coming from another planet where they have a completely different construct of time and distance to the sun, they are traveling interdimensionally. You technically are shifting in dimensions. And if they're using technology that isn't just below light speed, which chances there are, otherwise it'd be like taking 200 plus years, even maybe way longer to get here. If they're using some sort of technology that bends space and time, you're technically traveling interdimensionally to another location here. The term interdimensional is used basically for people, and mostly like apparitions even, of beings that are coming here. I feel that it's a combination of both, but you could probably just say it's all interdimensional, really. And then ultra terrestrials are beings that are on Earth that have been here for maybe even longer than we have, and that have gone under maybe into the Earth, into hollow Earth, or they have shifted their frequency just a little bit, that they're unable to be perceived by us anymore, but they're actually existing on Earth right now. I do believe that this is an interdimensional phenomena, and Earth is, I feel like Earth is like the largest light show in our galaxy in this moment. And it's in no way arrogant even to say that, because if we look at conventional third dimensional reality, there are a lot of hardships within solar systems and planets that need, and certain things need to be met in order for life to be really formed in the third dimensional reality. When you get into higher dimensions, and even mainstream physics since 1928 have also backed this up, that the forces that seem that they're opposing, like gravitational force, the electromagnetic force, in this dimension that we're in right now, they all seem like they're completely opposing, seemingly opposing forces that don't interact. But the speculation has been from mainstream and from spiritual communities for a long time now, is that when you get into higher dimensions, the forces that seem independent in this dimension start uniting and becoming part of one force. What that means to me as somebody who's spiritual is that when you get into these other dimensions, and I'm only using the word higher because that's the way we explain it on Earth, like fourth to fifth, when we go into a higher dimension, we have more of an ability to control our reality, and we're not so much a victim to our position of position of Earth from our sun, the amount of heat that a planet brings, volcanic activity, all these things that we really need to continue to thrive on this planet. So I feel that Earth is a huge light show because it is a very unique experience to cultivate and blossom life in this third dimensional reality. And not only that, many beings, and this is from, I would say, 20 years of research and connecting with so many different people, from whistleblowers to channelers to so much more, that I wouldn't doubt if every single sentient life form in a galaxy has somewhat contributed some DNA to this earthly experience. And they're almost all watching it unfold and seeing how it's going to manifest. But the funny thing is, the interesting component of this is that by seeding their DNA on Earth, they're actually seeding DNA for their ancestors. And in our earthly experience, as we transcend dimensions and go in higher dimensions and we move forward into our future, we end up going into the cosmos and become the beings that came here and seeded us in the first place. So it's like, it's just this feedback mechanism really, and this loop that's going on. We can get deeper into some of the races that could probably have some sort of effect on Earth, but I do think that we're intrinsically connected to many star beings, and not only are some of them here consciously, intentionally walking around amongst us, not only are some spacecraft around the planet right now, probably like in and out of reality, some that we can perceive, like Russian scientists have seen, and like NASA has even observed, but some that are completely shifted out of reality. And then on top of that, there's interdimensional phenomena. Like there could be researchers and beings around us right now just judging the way that we're interacting with each other in order to really get data from that, because we have basically proven now that this reality is holographic. And part of that is realizing that everything is subatomic, and on the subatomic level, all vibrations vibrate in and out of reality. So what does that mean? We're literally a holographic projection of what seems to be nothing. Right. So it's like we're piercing through the veil at this point, and we're realizing that everything that we think we know doesn't make sense. And that to me is exciting. I feel like that we're just at the beginning phases of what we're going to discover.
Well, first and foremost, let me just say, I love everything you just said. Okay. And thirdly, I would like to just stare at a screen and watch cool videos and listen to you talk. Just to let you know. So, I mean, like, seriously though, like, because everything you're saying is right. And my brain is catching up to it. Right. And it's catching up to everything you're saying. So it's pretty impressive, man. You've done your work for sure.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
So then does the significance of frequency and vibration, for sure. I mean, you just said it. That answers our third question. It permeates pretty much all aspects of the universe. There's no doubt about it. The physical universe.
Say that one more time. What permeates the universe?
Does the significance of frequency and vibration permeate all aspects of our universe? I don't know about all aspects, but the visible universe, for sure it does.
Well, so I did a presentation, and it's on portaltoascension.org. If anybody can sign up there, there's thousands of hours of presentations, and it's called Creation Stories of Ancient Civilizations. That's from me, and it's on YouTube as well. And I went through 180 different ancient stories of creation stories of ancient civilizations. And in there, I saw something that was very common. Basically, there's two types of creation stories that I found. There's prehistory, pre-Earth stories, right? Before Earth even manifested. And then there's Earth origin stories. And then there's combination stories from ancient religions, like the Greek ones, where it's like we came from the cosmos and then what happened over here afterwards, right? So in this story, what does it say? Before anything was physical, every single creation story almost always has the same component in it. And what is that? In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was what? The Word was God. The Word was with God. Some sort of concept of that. That's from John 1:1, right? From the Old Testament.
Right. Yeah.
But all of them talk about sound and frequency. And this is before the material universe. And one of the quotes from a native tribe in Laguna down here in California, they say that that from the original sound, from her song, they call it a her, and they say from her song, all things that were made that have not been made, all things that are material were manifested from her. Through her words and through her song, she sung the lands into creation. So what does this imply? This implies that frequency even created physical form and physical matter, and that physical matter is only a slowing down of vibration and frequency. So yes, because everything material vibrates, right? But then everything that's not material, but it's still is a vibration around us. Because even if you're next to me, right, and you probably believe this, that if you were sending negative thoughts to me and I'm picking it up here, it's not technically using physical frequencies and that you can perceive in order to send it towards me, right? And I mean, that's just a simple example. Even ultrasound, right? It's not a physical thing, but we're using it in order to see babies inside bellies, right? Inside the womb. So it's like everything is definitely vibration and frequency. And I think the dimensions are just ranges of frequencies, because you and I, we can hear between 20 hertz and I think 200 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz, something like that. Might be wrong. But we know for sure that the frequencies below 20 hertz exist and the frequencies above 20 hertz exist. This is why it's amazing to be human, because not only are we aware of our limitation, but now we are finally, for the first time ever, aware that there are frequencies below and above that we can't perceive but do exist. Right. So now we're creating technology to perceive those frequencies. And a lot of that technology is out there and being used right now, but then there's a lot of black budget technology, unacknowledged advanced access technologies by, maybe governments and other elites that are using frequency technology. That is something even us talking on this podcast and into what we're into, probably can't even really fathom what they really have out there, what's possible.
Yeah, it is really intense to think about. Rohan, you've been sitting back the whole time, brother. You got any questions or anything you want to ask? We got a few minutes for the break.
I got a couple of stuff stacking on. Yeah, it's one of my favorite topics. This is mentioned a bit at the beginning of the show, but yeah, there's a couple of points. I want to get in there with Brian from the chat had a question about. Can you hear me?
He can't hear you. You can't hear him.
No.
Okay, hold on. So let me check and see what Brian had from the chat, because I'll have to fix that. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, actually, you know what? Go ahead and just ask him one question, Rohan. I can fix it. You might get some feedback.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, there we go. I hear you.
Yeah. Hey, cool. That's all right then. Yeah, Brian in the chat, I just wanted to mention this first, because this is one of my favorite topics. I kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the show. But yeah, Brian in the chat, I just wanted to jot his question. When he was talking about these ultra terrestrials and was going through the list, he said, do you think some of these people are us then?
You cut out right after the word people.
Do you think some of these people are us?
So I think some of them could have been because if we say it's us, meaning like some sort of time travel where they came back to Earth, something like that, I don't speculate on that one because I don't know. But I do think that there could have been a time in our past where we coexisted and we're the same people, but then there was a breakaway civilization because some civilizations went down a more negative route, and whereas the other ones decided not to. And we see that even on Earth, on the face of Earth, for example, where different civilizations were cut off from the world for thousands of years, and they maintained a high level of spirituality, even though we went through these lower frequencies. I do think that the elemental beings are some of those beings that are ultra terrestrials, that there was a time where we lived on Earth with more fantastical creatures, and that a lot of them just couldn't be at the frequency that we're at right now. They went into hollow Earth.
Interesting. Elemental beings. That's something that's something that I've studied in magic and hermetics too. That's the elemental beings. That stuff goes back a lot farther than I think people know. So it's interesting that you bring that up.
Watch Lord of the Rings, watch anything with elementals. It's literally like stories from the ancient times that are real stories about these beings that existed on Earth. And then there was this huge war that took place. And that war in many texts is the Trojan War in the Greek text, is the Mahabharata in another text. That was the war that was the falling from the Silver Age into the Bronze Age. And as we fell from the Silver Age to the Bronze Age, our telepathic communication became limited. And then if you look into the origin of religion and when language and written words started coming down, was within 100 years after we fell from the Silver Age to the Bronze Age. So it's almost like maybe we were at a higher level of consciousness, and then when we started falling a little bit more, we weren't able to communicate like that anymore, and had to start doing written word and scriptures.
Yeah, or maybe the written word was the thing that limited that because we weren't careful with it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a new technology sort of thing. Well, it's messing with your language, you know.
We're at the top of the hour, but if you guys go check out his website, portaltoascension.org, you can see all the events, all the online events, the past events, some of the speakers. A lot of the speakers that he's had there have been on this broadcast too. Really cool stuff, some articles, the Patreon to support what he's doing. Big time stuff here. I'm really excited about this. This is like I don't know. This is really cool what you're doing, man. You realize that I know a lot of people are doing events and stuff, but this is the kind of stuff that I think is life changing, honestly. So yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's definitely life changing. Anyways, yeah, we got to go into break. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. We'll open up the phone lines too here in just a minute. I still got some more questions I want to talk about, but we'll be right back. Stay with us. Are you thinking about creating a podcast but don't know where to start? Do you really want to have to learn all this stuff? Individual track processing, enhance and improve sound quality, edit out those awkward pauses and slips, mix multiple clips and tracks, fix and balance noise levels and perfect volumes, deliver consistent sound, live podcast production, show notes and SEO optimization, episode upload to hosting, live call screening, balance levels and loudness measure broadcast standards, full branding packages with logo design, podcast site, website, show artwork, video and audio production. Got to do video because everybody's doing video, branded video graphics. Or do you just want to get on the mic and get your ideas out there? The Fringe FM team is here to help with all of your podcasting, audio and video production needs. From simple podcast audio enhancement, our professional production staff will make it easier than ever to create the podcast you desire.
The biggest thing is time. A lot of people that podcast don't have time. Time is like a really valuable currency next to cost. It's even more important than money. Why waste your time doing all this stuff? This is what we can do for you. Think about like the hours and the money you're gonna have to put into doing all this by yourself. Doesn't make sense. It's gonna take you months to launch. If we did it for you, we could do it tomorrow.
Visit thefringe.fm, join our team, and get jump started on your podcast today.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of The Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
This is the Rogie Report news on the Fringe FM, bringing you the latest in Fringe news from around the world and in every dimension. I'm Jess Rogie. It's been over a year since the start of the pandemic, and now researchers are trying to determine when the virus first landed in the United States. And the answer may surprise you. According to Futurism, after studying blood samples gathered by volunteers in early 2020, researchers found signs of coronavirus antibodies as early as January 7th, meaning Americans had already been infected by December of 2019. None of the patients in the study were in New York or Seattle, which were thought to have been infection hotspots at the time. Study co-author says they haven't determined if the people tested had traveled outside of the country. From COVID, we go to space. The largest structure in the universe began to spin, and scientists don't know why. Some of the gigantic filaments that make up the cosmic web, which is a massive network of trendle-like structures that link the universe's galaxies together. A team of scientists made the shocking discovery that some of the cosmic filaments are rotating. The study co-author said to Space.com, "We're not really sure what can cause a torque on this scale. Hopefully nothing bad." Space tourism is coming. Perhaps that's why they want to tell us about UFOs. But who knows? The rich dude space race is on. Jeff Bezos is scheduled for his flight on July 20th. And there are rumors that Virgin Galactic CEO Richard Branson will attempt to beat Bezos to space. According to the Parabolic Arc, an anonymous source says the billionaire is looking to fly to the edge of space aboard his space company's Spaceship Two rocket over the July 4th weekend. Well, what a better way to prove your space vehicles are safe than taking a ride in one yourself. Topics that used to be fringe are now more mainstream. As we move forward, science and spirituality start to become bedfellows. Scientists are trying to find out what consciousness is. Can it be measured by science? In an upcoming study, scientists want to find out Is the universe conscious? And which objects may have their own consciousness? A team of scientists is working on what they're calling the integrated information theory. According to the article, consciousness is everywhere, and it accumulates in places where it's needed to help glue together different related systems. Researchers are working on turning the ITT theory into a complex mathematical algorithm. Science is working on proving that consciousness exists. This has been the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM, bringing you the latest in Fringe News. I'm Jess Rogie.
You're listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting, the Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling, the ground shook, you could hear rushing water, and then history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails, stores with their shelves stripped bare, ATMs can't operate, deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. In statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand three truths. FEMA is broke, the system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25-year shelf life. Normally $137. Now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247. Now only $147 shipped in one business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada.
Yeah, don't pick up the phone just yet. We still got some more questions to ask with our guest tonight here. Neil Gaur is here with us. If you go to portalstoascension.org, you can check out the website. We're talking about our cosmic origins and also the really awesome events and speakers that he has on the website and events that he have coming up. Do you have something... by the way, I got to mention Rohan. Sorry about that, Rohan. My co-host Rohan's here with us. You're listening to Lighting the Void live here on the Fringe FM. Neil, do you have any events coming up shortly? Like, what's your newest event coming up?
Yeah, our next event coming up is on June 26th, which is next weekend, and it's called Quantum Timeline Jumping Conference. And it's a 10-hour conference. We have 9 speakers, and myself and my friend Shreya Dharma are going to be emceeing it. So it's called Quantum Timeline Jumping Conference. Everybody who signs up gets unlimited replay access. It's the first event on our online event page there. And this one is basically tools and techniques to shift and create your own reality and jump timelines, because basically every single moment you make a decision, you're shifting into a new reality, new parallel timeline for yourself. So this is it's going to be an annual event. This is the first one for this. And really the intention for it is to provide empowerment during these times, right? And I'm just going to maybe mention a couple of more.
Sure.
And then my wife and myself, we're doing our second sound and vibrational awareness course, where we teach for 4 weeks, all things sound and vibration. It's so fully inclusive. We have a whole segment on how the lack of sound is still a vibration. So it's literally like ancient civilizations to quantum physics to sound tools to setting up a sound bath, all of this information there. And then we have, I'm skipping a few events, but 2 events I want to mention right here is our Sacred Sites online conference. It's our second annual Sacred Sites conference. It's really awesome because it's like a tour of sacred sites all over the world. Freddie Silver, JJ Hurtak, and a few other individuals are going to be a part of it. And it basically goes presentation on a sacred site ceremony, presentation on sacred site ceremony. From so we have 8 different sites all over the world represented there. Not only is it really informative and like groundbreaking, paradigm shifting information, but it's also going to be an experience of connecting to all these ancient civilizations and listening to an indigenous person from that culture actually perform a ceremony. And then soon after that, which is a week after, we have a first ever. So this year, actually starting last year, I've started making a lot of conference annual events because they do so well. And I feel there's so much more information we can go into. So one of the events I've done that for is a 3-day conference we did in January called the Walk-ins Conference, which is a 3-day event on walk-ins. But this is another one that we're going to be doing annual now. It's called the Hybrids Online Conference with speakers such as Mary Rodwell, Barbara Lamb, Alan Steinfeld, and myself. And this one is going to be exploring the hybridization program of different extraterrestrial races and their connection to Earth, the intentions and the reasons for it. As we're going to go from everything government connected to everything spiritually and beyond connected. And out of those 2 days, maybe around 6 out of the 10 speakers are actual hybrids. So they're going to be talking about what that really means, how they figured it out. And then the other ones are going to be researchers. And then we also have Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar. He's going to be on that conference too. And that's on July 24th and 25th. And I can go on forever because we have 100 events scheduled for the rest of the year, many epic summits and all that. But to really dive into everything we have, go to portaltoascension.org, check out the event section there.
Is this something that, so you just curious, I'm not trying to get too in your business, but is this something you and your wife run?
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much run the whole thing. And then my wife, she does a lot of the work for the live events because we do live conferences too. 80% of our events are online. 20% of them are live conferences, retreats, tours to ancient sites, And,
oh, wow.
And then we have our annual Portal to Ascension conference in Irvine, California. It's the 5th. Next year will be the 5th year. So she helps with that. And then she also does other things on the back end. So it's pretty much the 2 of us. And then we have 3 or 4 other people that work for us. And then we have a team of web designers as well that work part-time. So there's a lot of people involved in this.
Oh man, that's amazing, man. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Yeah. You're a man on a mission doing good stuff in the world for sure.
Dude, seriously.
Yeah,
good works, for sure. Yeah.
So this is whenever I hear people talk about how passionate they are about these things, I have to think, since you said you grew up in Hinduism, right?
Yeah.
Did you have any type of experiences growing up with this stuff? Any encounters or anything that happened to you?
Dude, I honestly have hardly any memories before age 18.
Really? Before 18?
Yeah. Traumas in life as a child that has made it hard for me to remember things. So like, I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I don't really have any tangible experience I could pull on from before that.
Wow.
Like, yeah. And so I used to say before 16, but I really don't remember high school either. And it's not like I was high. I didn't start smoking weed until I was in college. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know why I forgot. But I would say that I always felt disconnected and like I didn't belong, right? Which is like a common thing that I find in a lot of people doing this work. I felt like something was off in the world. Those are the feelings that I remember. I didn't really question my religion, but I really didn't follow it 100% either. So there wasn't really anything tangible that I had that brought me to it. There was just this inner knowing and drive. And when I started getting jobs and working like at corporate jobs and all that later in life, I'd almost self-sabotage myself like at every single job in order to like either be fired or leave or something to happen. I could not work for anybody.
I did the same thing, man. I really did.
I would always come back to, and I just found out recently there's a numerology sign or numerology number when you do your numerology that is specifically a personality trait that jumps from job to job because they can't do that and they just can't work for people. So I was like, that's interesting. Maybe I'm that. So,
well, I got to be that. Yeah. Cause it destroys me from the inside out.
What I've done here is like, not only have I created my own business, but every single event is like its own business. It's its own thing. So I am just doing like around 110 of these a year and every one's its own project. So it's, even though it's under one umbrella of this organization, every single thing is so unique to what we're going to create. So just go back to what you asked me. No, nothing that I remember intentionally, just a really feeling of not being, not everything being off a little bit. And then as I grew older, I just funneled into this information. I picked it up really quickly, and it was just like everything made sense now. And a great component of that is like my favorite subject, which is ancient history. When I started finding out that the true timeline that we were told isn't maybe the truth, and I started delving into history even more. In the last couple of years, I've been like dissecting all types of ancient civilizations and empires and creating this whole map of our human history and what happened with migration routes. And that's really been my true passion, is uncovering our true ancient origins. And by discovering our true ancient origins, it directly gets connected to the extraterrestrial question. And it also gets connected to the spirituality of the ancients and what they really knew about our connection to not only ourselves, the earth, but also the cosmos.
Wow. Do you think that this has anything to do with where you hear people talk about astral travel, the out-of-body experience? Because I remember talking to Whitley Strieber about that, and when he first came on the scene, he talked about communion when he had the abduction experience and all that. But as he went on, he went to the Monroe Institute and these other places and said, no, I'm starting to think this is definitely something having to do with interdimensional experiences, which is pretty much the out-of-body experience. And when you go out of body, you feel vibrations in your body before you rise out of your body. So it's definitely some type of vibratory wall or barrier that's in between these dimensions, I think.
Oh yeah, completely. And just to simplify it, right, this was extremely oversimplifying. Like if you say like 1 hertz to 100 hertz is like the first dimension, 101 hertz to 200 hertz is the second dimension. Of course, I'm just throwing out arbitrary numbers, but it's like we have these frequency ranges that are vibratory ranges. I don't know if it's like based on a hierarchical system, because I do believe that hierarchy is only perceived in the way we perceive it because of the linear time that we're in and how much authority we've given to, figures that are claimed to rule us and control us. So I don't know if it's a hierarchical thing, but dimensions, I'm pretty much, and I think mainstream science and quantum physicists agree too now, is that dimensions are ranges of frequencies, bandwidths, like specific bandwidths of frequency range.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. It definitely would. Yeah. I don't know about the cube mechanism too, but you see this a lot, right? You see it even in the Kabbalah and sacred geometry. There's an old Kabbalistic text called the Sefer Yetzirah as well, where they talk about the dimensions of the cube or the hypercube, things like that. I totally believe in that. I think we're all in this this kind of Merkaba machine, and that's it.
Dude, yeah. And a good thing to actually add to this that ties into ancient civilizations, astral travel, and frequency is the 110 hertz frequency that Ancient Aliens even did a whole segment on it, with 10-minute segment called the alien frequency. And places like Malta, the caves in Malta, the County Meath, Ireland, which is a Bronze Age structure over 5,000 years old there, a really beautiful structure. They acoustically generate a frequency from the walls. And when we went in there, when archaeoacoustic people went in there, mainstream archaeoacoustics, and archaeoacoustics are people that deal with ancient technology and ancient sites and their connection to acoustics and frequencies. It's like a mainstream study. When they went there and they did all these tests, they found out not only those 2 sites, but many different sites were all emanating frequencies. But one of the most common frequency that it was emanating was 110 hertz. So in the caves of Malta, when this archaeoacoustics team went in there with physicists, they went in there with archaeologists, few other professional academic people. None of them were into esoterics or disclosure or consciousness. And they were trying to see what kind of effect this frequency would have. They were explaining astral travel experiences out of body. One of the students, I felt like I left my body and I was connected to it somehow, silver cord, and that all of a sudden my consciousness projected onto the cave drawings on the wall. Another scientist there also explained having a very meditative state. And then when they did EEG tests on people in the same area while they're getting that frequency, when they mapped their brain out, they saw that you went into a theta wave, which is a deep meditation state, and anxiety and different types of stressors and traumas were being released. So these ancient structures were acoustically, we're making technology, we're making devices to emanate a frequency here. They literally somehow downloaded and channeled how to create this structure that is still erect today after thousands of years, that's emanating a frequency, and the frequency is coming out is the exact same frequency that they originally wanted it to be, and it's giving them these astral travel experiences. And just to end that, what I'm saying here with this is they did another study on those individuals there at the place, and they did what was it? I forgot what I was going to say now, but so anyways, the ancients definitely had this advanced understanding of acoustics and frequency, but they had it in a way that seemed to be not needing material like items in order to create these vibrations and frequencies. And we can only go there and test and see that they did it, but no one really knows how they understood this or where they got this information from. So whether it was some ancient civilizations before them that passed it down, and then this is the reason why ancient aliens covered it. Maybe they had some sort of advanced knowledge or awareness from, extraterrestrials.
Well, for sure too, if you study language, right? And you go back into that, if you go down the Western esoteric tradition and look into magic, hermetics, things like that, it goes into the Hebrew letters, but the Hebrew letters actually, especially the newer ones, not the ancient ones, but they come from the Babylonian flame letters, and they have these vibrations in the rituals that are vibrated a certain way to invoke certain things. And I think they're just barely tapping into it there. But then you have other things too, like biogeometry. You have the cymatics. Dr. Ibrahim Karim wrote a whole book about biogeometry and energy and an evolved Earth, where we could just totally change frequencies and wavelengths just by building certain geometrical structures. There's all kinds of, like you said during the break, man, there's a lot of simple solutions if we could just get more people involved, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you just said about geometry, because basically a frequency can affect you on every single sense. So what is a frequency an audio frequency for your hearing? That's a sound, right? Or a frequency that you can't even perceive because it's not at a range where you can perceive it. But then there's also the visual component. What's the visual component of a frequency? The geometry of what things are made up of. So this geometry has a corresponding vibratory frequency, and all sacred geometry and other geometries too can be translated into a frequency measured in hertz. And then you have smell. It's not technically it is a wave because it's coming from it, but it's not like a sound. It's not something that you're seeing, but it's a frequency and that is being emanating and coming out and creating a certain type of odor. So these are just different ways for our senses to basically react to and translate what the frequency is.
Yeah, absolutely. Rohan, you got anything, man? I left you behind again, brother.
Yeah, cool. You go, man. Yeah, so I was stacking stuff up. Yeah, I was thinking in terms of like backing that up as well. There's tons. There's a book by Jonathan Gray I've mentioned a few times, and it gives over 900 examples of ancient technologies that are better than ours today, even back to Roman concrete. And there was one of them on about the simplicity. It's where someone managed to cut a channel for a river, to cut a new river channel to use for irrigation or whatever. But they did it without digging it up or pumping anything. They just put the perfect sized boulder in the water, and it just split the water just nice, so it would cut it exactly where they would need according to the landscape to get the job done. And they were saying these days you'd need water pumps, you need a whole team, you'd have to dam off you know what I'm saying? And they just put the right boulder in there and wait. It's just,
it doesn't seem like something like that would make such a great effect, but it is like the geometry of it and the balance of the frequencies. It changes everything. Changes everything.
Working with nature. Yeah, it shows as well. I think the thing about that particular example that stands out for me, it shows a deep understanding of nature and working with it rather than against it. And that was the bit that jumped for me. And I was like, that's the really important thing. And that's what the Gnostics were talking about. That was always the problem, is that the human genome tend to start attacking its environment for some reason. And it was only the ones that didn't do that went forward and became on that sort of spiritual advanced path. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's attacking your nature. Like this survival of the fittest is a silly idea. Really, so like that dog eat dog business, because nature don't really do that. There's a lot of symbiosis that happens,
right?
But it gets focused on the destruction side of things.
Well, Neil, if you had to pick one out of all the stuff that, like Rohan's talking about, all the stuff that we talked about tonight, if there was one thing that you think we all should focus on, like if we had to pick one, I know there's a few, but one thing do you think that would change all of it? What do you think it would be?
Well, it would have to be you can't say that, man, because it's all
the same, right?
Like,
I think some people say frequency and some people say consciousness, but I wonder if it's all the same thing.
Okay, so the reason why I've created so many presentations on sound and frequency is because I love that you can bring in everything into sound and frequency, because as we spoke out in the beginning, everything is vibration. So I can give me any topic that I can do a presentation on. For example, right now I'm creating a presentation, a 3-hour presentation on the origins of witchcraft and magic, right? And in this presentation, this frequency is good. There's a whole section on frequency because it is frequency.
Yeah,
so even when I'm talking about ancient sites and how they were advanced 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, well, that directly connects to the frequency of the planet and the individuals and why they had this information. And I'll just add to that is like, some people say that, oh, don't say that it's aliens, that, they build the pyramids from aliens. You're just discrediting humans from it, And I think that there's some truth to it. I don't think everything that we're seeing that's so advanced, like a lot of people think the pyramids were created by ETs, could have had some ET influence. But I also think that it was a frequency thing in regards to these individuals that had the ability to tap into frequency levels of information that they were downloading how to create this stuff. Basically deep meditative states that gave them information on sacred geometry and more. We know that Pythagoras went to Egypt and he spent years there. I think it was 7 years in Egypt that he was given initiation into all the mystery schools. And these mystery schools were information that they had basically channeled 5,000 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And that could have even come from Atlantis, because actually Atlantis was originally spoken about by the Egyptians, but it wasn't called Atlantis. Plato received the information 6 generations after it left Egypt. And that's documented information that's out there, conventionally accepted as well. So it's like maybe they had this advanced information from a society that they used to be a part of, and then they brought it over there and started permeating it to, people from all over the world that were the right people at the right time would take this information everywhere.
Because Plato, was it Plato or Pythagoras? I forget who.
It was Plato that talked about.
So
talked about Atlantis.
Plato was the one, but maybe it was Pythagoras that I'm thinking about this, that guarded this stuff with. I mean, you had to have been to get into like all the mysteries for the most part are out right now. You could read about them for the most part. But back then they guarded it like it was, and it was insanely guarded.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
So why was that, right? It's almost like they were waiting for, I think they were just keepers of the information, and it was known for a long time. Like the reason why pyramids were created at such a huge level, maybe started 13,000 years ago up until maybe 6,000 years ago, they were creating a lot of pyramids. But I think for 13,000 to 9,000 years ago, most of the pyramids were being created. That's only one theory. There's theories that go back 26,000 years further than that and even more. But let's just say that it's around 13,000 years ago. It seems like these pyramids were created in order to naturally harness the frequency of the earth and to emanate and strengthen it. And using acoustic like copper rods and aqueducts and all this stuff, generating a frequency, and could have been some energy generating devices that created a power grid that really assisted humanity to keep a certain level of consciousness or receive certain information. Because we even have hieroglyphs of different people going into the pyramids and going into a room where there's like frequencies all around them. They have the ankh in their hand, like some sort of ritualistic thing going on. It seems that maybe we were at a state of consciousness where we did not need tools in order to keep ourselves at a level of awareness. But as we started falling from grace, so to speak, and then the comet hit around 13,000 years ago that we spoke about in the break as well, and there was this worldwide flood, we were still at an advanced level of consciousness. We were still at the Satya Yuga, which is the golden age. That didn't end until around 9,000 years ago, but there was still a cataclysm on earth that sent a lot of people back to the Stone Age, but they still had very advanced information and awareness. Atlantis fell in 3 stages. The people in Atlantis didn't just sink, and it wasn't this huge cry like, oh my God, we died. A lot of them evacuated over a long period of time. It had been sinking for quite some time. And as they were going around the world, their information was being taken as well. Some people might say that, they went to South America first and also Egypt and all over. From my like hardcore obsession with trying to figure it out, I feel like maybe Egypt was the first place. And then as Egypt started falling from grace around 5,000 years ago, right before pre-dynastic Egypt, which is what we're told was the beginning of Egypt. But I'm actually arguing here that Egypt was on its way out right before we say it actually started, because it seems that they left and took this information all over the world, because then we start seeing ancient civilizations elsewhere having the same information, including the Indus civilization that sprouted India, had the same gods and everything, right? So we start seeing that happening. So I think that the information was then taken around, but then somebody else, some other civilization came into the remnants of the uninhabited or maybe scarcely inhabited Egypt, took it over, and they proclaimed themselves the deities and the power elite. And pre-dynastic Egypt and everything that happened after that, why is there hardly any hieroglyphs about those actual people that were in pre-dynastic? And why is there all these hieroglyphs about those people that were in pre-dynastic and dynastic Egypt written on top of older hieroglyphs, right?
Man.
And even the face of the face of the Sphinx, there's documented that the face changed 2 different times. So, these are all the questions that I really have.
Those are some really good questions. And I remember John Anthony West himself talking about some of those same things too. We're on our last segment here. You guys, if you want to call in and ask our guest a question, we'll open the phone lines up towards the end of the top of the hour here. More Lighting the Void coming up. Hey, you can join our chat room too. If you go to fringe.fm, click on the Discord banner, join all the cool kids in there chatting away right now. We'll be right back. Stress from a paranormal experience, even if it happened 20 years ago, when thinking or talking about it today still makes you feel sick to your stomach or makes your heart beat faster, or you suddenly can't breathe. Maybe you even feel those old familiar signs of a panic attack trying to reach the surface. You could have unprocessed emotional responses. Those reactions of terror and trauma are no different than living through a horrible assault, childhood abuse, or a terrible car accident. It can be nearly impossible to find help. The very instance of seeing a ghost or encountering a cryptid could be clinically described as seeing or hearing things that aren't there. You could be considered psychotic, or at best, you're just not taken seriously. Out of a growing mountain of research, the National Institute for Integrative Healthcare showed that 8 out of 10 veterans who completed just 6 one-hour EFT sessions no longer tested positive for PTSD. If you've had paranormal trauma, you can contact Metaphorical Archaeology by calling 214-995-3754. Again, that's 214-995-3754 for a discreet consultation.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Have you ever wanted to dream about being a character in your favorite video game or movie? Would you like to dream your fantasy with all 5 senses in detail and remember everything? It's time to bring the dreaming mind back online. Introducing Dreaming for Gamers from Ian Wilson.
Dreaming for Gamers will teach you how to program your dreams to dream what you want from any video game, movie, or source material that you choose. The courses help rehabilitate the dreaming mind out of atrophy so you can remember your dreams, taste, touch, smell, see, and hear, as well as be self-aware and take complete control over the dream state like Neo in The Matrix. You can't catch COVID in a dream, but you can wake up with a happy ending.
Type in thefringe.fm/dreamplay and sign up today to get dreaming now. That's thefringe.fm/dreamplay, or click the banner at thefringe.fm today and take the 7-day dream challenge for free while it lasts.
Hi folks. These uncertain times can cause uncertain gut slowdown. Worry and fear can wreak havoc on our digestion, making it hard to feel optimum. Bloating, less energy, and occasional constipation can slow you down in your daily activity. Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea can help get things moving so you can get that boost of energy you need. Life Change Tea helps protect and defend your health from intruders. It's a weird time right now with all the uncertainty, so gear up and defend your health. Where do you go to purchase? Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. The specials are on the front page, and we have numerous supplements to help combat intruders. It's time to take charge of our health and to feel better in life. It's time to live. Again, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. It is so worth it.
From parapsychology to pop conspiracy, and from parapolitics to health and esoterica, I'm Ryan Gable, host of The Secret Teachings, and I'll bring you all of this and more 5 nights a week right here on The Fringe FM. By using critical thinking and objectivity as keys to understanding, utilizing, and appreciating the secret teachings of all ages. You can catch The Secret Teachings Monday through Friday right here on The Fringe FM after Joe Roop and Lighting the Void.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which
paranormal.radio.
brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers. We spend almost as much time online as sleep, and that's 6 to 8 hours a day. The internet knows a lot about us, and that's why we should care about our online data. Use Surfshark to encrypt your personal information and send it via a secure VPN tunnel so that no one can see it without your permission. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers. You need to protect yourself from surveillance and targeted advertising. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals.
This is KTLK Digital Broadcasting, where the normal and paranormal collide. It's The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. You're listening live on the Fringe.fm. That's Fringe.fm, KTLK Digital Broadcasting. Don't forget, after the show, The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable is on, and we're going to be kicking this off all week long. We have open lines Friday night too, and tomorrow night we're going to have a very special guest on, Lisa O'Hara. We're going to be talking about the ET abduction, and pretty interesting guest as well tonight. Fabulous guest. Neil Gaur is here with us from portalstoascension.org. It's been an awesome show. And by the way, if you guys want to call in, you can at 1-800-588-0335. If you want to ask our guest a question. Dude, you just been pouring it out tonight, man. This has probably been one of the coolest shows we've had in a while, actually. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So
I'll add something while we're waiting for someone to call in, but go ahead. You go first.
No, you go ahead, because I was actually, you know what? I'll go ahead. I was thinking, so this of life that you're living now, you have to feel that this is like your best life, right? This is what you're here to do, for sure.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I quit Portal to Ascension like 10 times since 2008 when it started, because I was like, I need to work and make money. I need to feed myself. I need to start a life out. This is not going to do it for me.
I know
and
the
then
feeling.
also like, I was so traumatized and not healing. I was like, what am I even doing this for? I'm not even getting any benefit. You know, I had those moments as well. So then when I left my last job 4 or 5 years ago at K&N Engineering, this air filter company, I was the SEO specialist there. And then I left that job. And when I left the job there, I was like, all right, this is my commitment to myself that I'll never quit Portal to Ascension again. And I haven't quit it for 5 years now, just been at it full time. We did a lot of evolution before that, but since I decided to be with it full time, it's just kept growing really. And now we have like 10-year projected plans, 20-year plan. Like we have a whole entire vision of what we're creating, but definitely a multimedia platform, even documentaries. We've done 5 mini documentaries. We're in the process of one full feature documentary on walk-ins. We're going to create a documentary on the Maya Empire. So just a lot of different content and edutainment, really.
Yeah, that's
working hard, you are, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I've kind of done the same thing with the Fringe. You know, it's still on its way up, but I just think that quitting thing, you know, that's those. Yeah. I think those are tests, dude. And speaking of like resistance, did you ever feel that like there's some kind of resistance trying to get you to stop doing what you're here to do? Did you ever feel that?
I thought I felt that in the beginning, and then but now I'm at a stage where I don't even think that anymore.
Yeah, because it's almost like megalomania or psychosomatic or some type of victim thing. I think that could be going on too. I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird because it's a fine line, because not only could it really be happening, but then you could also be attracting it by believing it happens, right? And or you could lower your frequency to a level that it can be penetrated by forces that don't want you doing what you want to do, just by thinking it, just by opening yourself to it. So like, I am aware of the fact that this could happen, but I completely move forward with knowing that I'm just protected. I'm just having a lot of fun really with what I do, that I'm too busy doing things that are fun to really focus on anything that negative that could happen to me.
He's like that. I love it, man. He's like that guy on the playground. It's like, I don't know. I'm just too busy having fun. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's the key word, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun as well, but it's important because that's how you grab that fire. I don't know if you call it chaos magic or cheat or soul. If you have fun with it, whether it's doing music or or going on a date, if you get the fun spot, man, you're laughing.
Fun bus is this way, baby, for sure. Right.
Yeah.
So I was going to bring this up earlier when you were talking about magic and stuff. I said R. Kelly, John Kelly, John D. and Edward Kelly. Good Lord, my brain's all mixed up. They came up with the Enochian language. And I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's some very crazy sequences of vibrations. And it's supposedly, and I can vouch for this, a very powerful magical language. You know, the first time I dabbled with it, I did not do it anymore. Like I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. This definitely worked. I need to like go through this stuff, and then maybe I will touch it or I won't. But that's all it was voice vibrations. That's it.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should check that out. Make that part of your presentation.
I pulled it up already. I got it right here, so I'll look into it.
Yeah, and so John D. was magician and I guess mage to Queen Elizabeth. He also was originally called 007. Some really weird stuff going on there, you know.
Interesting. Yeah, that's actually, it's great that you brought this up, because that's what I wanted to actually say, is something about language. So first of all, we're talking about vibration frequency throughout this whole podcast, right? And language, of course, is vibration, but because we don't notice it as harmonic or singing, we don't really think about it as a frequency that can heal off the bat. But when you really think about it, when you're communicating, it's a vibration of expression that's coming out of you. Different languages are basically vibrate at different frequencies because of whatever, you know, the original source is and however they evolved. One thing that I just found out yesterday, because I'm deep in research on the Indus civilization right now. I literally watched 10 hours of presentations on it like 2 days ago on Indus civilization. And because I'm trying to figure out, how did I begin? That's my whole thing. How did me, Indian Neil, born in England, come to California? And part of that is figuring out the Indus civilization. So the Sanskrit language definitely came about, you know, probably around 5,000 to 3,000 BC was starting to be created, the original Sanskrit. But then there was this guy called Panini around 300 BC, is a guru in India, and he created something called the Shiva Sutras. The Shiva Sutras are these like commandments of like consciousness and reality, destruction and recycle of the universe. And the Shiva Sutras are said in a way that you sing, And the Shiva Sutras are literally the building blocks and binary code that they utilize now in computer programming, right? They got it from the Shiva Sutras, one.
Yeah.
And then secondly, it was the foundation for classical Sanskrit and every language that came from Sanskrit after that. A hymn, a beautiful hymn of language that has these notes that goes da 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 da, like that the whole way through, dedicated to the god Shiva, written in a way that we took and created the whole language for this entire continent, for this whole subcontinent, right? So it goes deeper into what we're even saying, because the original words and tones probably were harmonic frequencies that were emanating before we even started formulating full language.
Yeah. So then you're cotton onto the, you're grabbing onto the frequencies and the channels that are already there. And that's interesting. You mentioned that with computing as well, because the computing, the binary 1 and 0, the true or false, is actually based on the neuron firing or not firing. So they've got that coding system and the ASCII coding system with the 1s and 0s, and you're saying,
oh man,
now
this
they've got
is
the
so
data packets
trippy
for the language.
Good.
Yeah. The whole Shiva Sutra is based on 1s and 0s. Like I just watched a 30-minute video yesterday of a computer programmer explaining with research studies, all back science, about how Sanskrit was the preliminary language utilized in the creation of computer languages.
You know that. All right. So what was that error correcting code they also found in string theory too? They found there's been all kinds of computer code, but the 1s and 0s thing, that is really interesting. Let's see. Let's take this phone call here. Let's see, 954 area code. Make sure your radio's down in the background too, because you're getting a delay. 954 area code hung up. That guy's called. Like, look, if you guys call in, you got to wait, right? And then when we address you, then answer the phone. Make sure your radio's down and make sure you're, it's not chaotic. Just regular phone call.
A good example is the Gayatri Mantra, which is the oldest mantra in Indian text, right? And they say it's the oldest religious hymn in the world. And it goes like this, and I'm going to say it to you guys, and just look at the frequencies that are embedded in the language, right? It goes, Om Bhur-bhava Swahar Tatsarvitar Vareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prajotayat. And you can just feel it when I say it or I hear it. It's like this penetrating frequency that like almost like goes into your DNA and restructures it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Straightening my back up just there. That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see if we got it now. 954 area code. You're on the air with Neil Guar. Who are we speaking with? Hello.
Jade.
All right. What's your question for our guest, Jade?
He had remarked something about audio frequencies and smells.
Mm-hmm.
Can he expand on that, please? Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for your call.
Yes. Okay, so audio frequencies, I think what you're referring to is the fact that every frequency isn't just a vibration frequency. You can perceive it with every one of your senses. Some people say we have more than 5 senses, but let's just say we have 5 of them. So what is the audio? How do you experience a frequency through the sense of hearing? You hear it, right? You hear the sound, or you don't hear it, but it exists, but your frequency can only perceive 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. What is the way you see a visual frequency? Well, believe it or not, but your desk is made of all these atoms that have geometrical components to it, and you're literally seeing a materialized frequency with your vision. When it comes to smell, when you have an essential oil, that essential oil might say that essential oil vibrates at 450 hertz. Let's just say, right? Say that this, and then you play the frequency 450 hertz. The smell of the essential oil through your nostrils and you smelling it has the same effect as 450 hertz as if you actually quantified and made a machine that gave you that same vibration frequency. So that's what I was getting at there. I'll just add this as well, that I said 20 to 20,000 hertz is what you can perceive with sound, but with your smell, with smelling, they used to think that we could only, I think it was, I forget now, but it's like, we used to think it was like 20,000 or something odors that we can smell. Now they figured out that we can actually smell at least 2 trillion different individual odors. So even that's a lot. We can smell 2. So we have 2 trillion different ways and combinations of ways to smell things that are frequencies that are giving off an actual smell rather than giving you the sound. But then on top of that, there's got to be more than 2 trillion. It's not like there's only 2 trillion things in existence that exist that can give you the smell. There are other things that exist as well. So now we're getting into the realm of your smell and how even that is limited. So within this dimension, within this dimensional experience, we're now figuring out through science that every single one of our senses have an actual range of frequencies of experience, but we're able to create technology that's able to perceive the other ones that we aren't able to use our own bodies for.
Oh man. So if you put this in the realm of Joe Dispenza's work too, right? Where he talks about what we amplify with emotion and our thoughts and all this stuff, amplify a frequency. Well, that's a pretty crazy circuit if you think about that, right? Because certain smells give off certain nostalgias or memories to us, and that trigger other frequencies. So it's like a crazy domino frequency trigger world. You know what I'm saying?
It's a fractal effect. And it's like you can create a downward spiral from yourself, and you'll just keep going down, and everything that you do will just perpetuate that, or you can create an upward spiral.
Right.
And that's what happens too. Is like one thing will just lead to another frequency shift. That's why it's so difficult to say what your frequency is. And like somebody says, this is my vibration. Some people actually come to quantify what number it is. We're being bombarded with frequencies all the time. Even if I was in like some sort of chamber with no frequencies bombarding me, even the material on the wall of that chamber is emanating a frequency that's affecting me, you know? So the only thing that we can really do is not concentrate on the number. Like, oh, when you're at 432 hertz, you're great, right? But we need to concentrate on harmony. So creating frequencies that emanate harmony, because it's not about higher and lower vibration. Great example, Schumann resonance. It's like 7 point something. Schumann resonance is a great frequency. It helps you earth. It gives you, oxygenates your cells, you know, it alkalizes your body, but it's nowhere near another frequency that might be 440 hertz. That's a higher frequency, but it can create distortion within you, right? So it's just about how we can create harmony. We live in an advanced reality right now. We live with such advanced technology that, as Rohan and I was speaking about earlier on the break, is that we have the technology to create harmonious frequencies and use that to transfer data, in which we're doing right now. We're transferring data. But because we live in such an unconscious world where it's not conventionally accepted that every vibration around us is affecting our emotional and physical being, no one is actually spending the time on these corporate levels to make sure that their frequencies are harmonious rather than creating disharmony. We can use radio frequencies, but we can also make it harmonious. We can even put certain frequencies through crystals that completely eliminate the bad effects of certain things, and that's been proven as well, right? So it's just like we have the technology, we have the education, we have the know-how, but we don't have it implemented yet because it's not been accepted or taught to us. You know, they've been teaching us other things.
Yeah, but they're going to get there for sure. I mean, because if you think about it,
exactly.
I don't know, like you're saying, on a good level or a bad level, but for sure, like Spotify is already trying to get to where they can suggest songs based on our emotions, which some people don't like that at all, right? But that is, if they start learning the correspondences of all the frequencies and what they correspond to and the stuff that we put off and everything, it can get pretty, I mean, it could be cool. We could evolve the world technologically, but also, depending on how you look at it, it could get pretty controlling. Just depends, you know.
It's all level of consciousness. Every single thing that's happening can have a good effect on humanity if we're awakened to a truth of who we are. But the only way we're going to awaken to that isn't by someone teaching you it. It's by us releasing the trauma that we've received this life and last lives, and unlearning pretty much a lot of what our parents told us for the most part.
Isn't that crazy? It always comes back down to what our parents did to us, right?
Dude, I would say like everybody, I would say like, I'm saying it jokingly now, but I say it seriously a lot, is everybody has mommy and daddy issues. And if you didn't have a mommy or daddy, then you still have a mommy and daddy issue.
Right. You know, it's just funny, the intensity of it. It's like we're aliens, and I got all this conscious stuff. I'm starting to learn the secrets of the universe, and you get it down to the root, and it's like, well, I was traumatized by my dad. You know?
Exactly.
It's like, what? You know, but and it's also happened on purpose. It happened on purpose, I think.
And that's what disclosure has to do with spirituality, which is a question I used to get a lot in the beginning too. How come you're into UFOs? What does meditation have to do with UFOs? I did a whole article on my website on it. What does meditation have to do with UFOs? And it's literally because it's a frequency game. They shift and they have some sort of advanced knowledge of themselves, their own body, the control of reality and technology that at this level of consciousness, we're not able to be at. So they're already at that frequency. And what we need to do in order to be able to not have a reactory response to the existence of ETs, like a lot of governments are doing right now, is to work on our collective trauma. And we have the tools and techniques. I'm sure you guys know of some, I know of a lot too, that we can basically go to, whether it's ayahuasca or EFT, right? There's a lot of different things that we can do in order for us to get to it. But it's not easy because we've been in this world, we've been indoctrinated not to do that kind of stuff. So even when you get to it later in life, it's still challenging. And for me, I'm not completely transcended of a lot of issues, but I've been on this journey consciously for like almost 20 years now, right? So it's like, once we start realizing it works and that there isn't money invested in us not utilizing those tools, then it can be spread out into the world. The schools can start teaching it. We can make sure that some sort of meditation, non-dogmatic meditation, is involved in the education process. We can change standardized testing because they know it doesn't work, and do something that allows people to be more exploratory in their consciousness. But there's no benefit in making people awake, right? It is only a benefit in creating more of a race of people that work for you. And even it was a Rothschild back in the 1920s that said something along the lines of changing the work week to an extra day in order to basically make more people work for him, and that's basically the bottom line of what this reality is right now, is that we have so much distractions. We're working so much. We are literally thankful for the 2 or 3 holidays we get a year. Right? We're like, oh my God, thank you for giving us this break. We're like saying thank you to those that are controlling us, even though life should be a break and should be beautiful, and we should be cultivating the planet and giving back to each other. But instead we have it completely opposite. So it's funny because we live in a delusional world right now, but it's even more funny that the people that are awake are considered the delusional ones, right? Everything is really backward at this point, but it's changing. It's changing right now.
I think that, and I think we have to then, I think this is the opportunity then where you push the imperative of saying, no, this is essential. It is the right way to do it, because we've got no choice now. We've got like what Terence McKenna called, we backed ourselves into a corner, and yet you can't go back. So you've got a forward escape. The forward escape is the only way. Do you know what I mean?
That's the only way we make change is when we do that.
Yeah, and then we say, well, all the crap we've done then, it was built with Pisces energy, all that, and we have to completely change our mindset. And that's what anthropology, that's what they've said in the 50s, kill your career. But they're saying like, only pharmacological intervention is going to fix things. And McKenna was saying, oh yeah, well, the consciousness, nature way, you can do pharmacology that way. That's the way to fix things, because something needs to shift in our mindsets, period. Got to shift the mindset.
There is a counterbalance to everything in nature too. I mean, they find it constantly, then they synthesize it, but there's a counterbalance to everything in nature. It's just like jujitsu. For every submission hold, you think there's no way out of this, right? But there is a way, right? Mm-hmm. So it is on how you look at it. It is the frequency. And in this community, I really want to ask you this, because you do a lot of events, right? There's a lot of people in this community, and no judging here or anything, but it's all about leaving and ascending and leaving the planet and stuff. And I get a little like, okay, well, we got work to do here, Yeah. Are you done?
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
Right. So should I comment on that? Did you want to?
Yeah, definitely would like you to.
I don't actually work with anybody like that. And it's not that I'm like saying no to them when they come to me. They just don't find me. And that must be some sort of intuitive thing that occurs, because I used to think Ascension was somewhere to go pre-2012. So it's been like 9 years of not thinking that. But to me, it's a paradox. And I love speaking about the paradox. I've done whole presentations on the universal paradox. And to me, it's like the only way you can create an ascended reality, which is technically in your linear future, is by being present in the now. The only way to be present in the now is to do the inner work in this moment. So it's a paradox, because the only way to get to this beautiful reality that you think you can create is to not care about being in that reality, but to care about where you are in this moment, and to really work on yourself to be present with this moment, rather than we're worrying about your future or being so traumatized with your past. So it's not about an escape. It's about doing the inner work. And as we all do the inner work, the consequence of that is we will eventually be in this world where we'll have a lot of shifts in the world. The economy will probably be restructured. Society as we know it will be restructured. Our priorities will be restructured. GDP won't be based on capital anymore, but will probably be based on gross domestic happiness or something, which a few countries do have already.
Gross domestic happiness. I like that.
Yeah. There's one country that has that right now, GDH, I think it's called, and it's a small country near India. And so basically getting to that point. So to answer your question concisely is that I don't work with people that are trying to escape, but I was really working with people and new people back in the day that were like, ETs are coming, we need to go off with them when they come here. I don't really see that for the last 5-6 years. I really haven't focused on that or seen that. Instead, we're working with a lot of people and visionaries that are providing tools and techniques of us to really heal ourselves and work on ourselves. And as we all work on ourselves, we can create heaven on earth. I really believe it's definitely for sure. I mean, like I've been at places and times in my life where I felt so healed, that I was so present and so empowered. And I know that if other people on the planet could be that way as well, we could all be like that. We can create beauty. And just to go back to Rohan's point really quick, you said duality backed in the corner, right? Backed into a corner is basically duality. Duality is the epitome of being backed into a corner to the point where you have nowhere to go except back to the oneness. So we've experienced duality at such a hardcore right now that part of the reasons why things like psychedelics are becoming decriminalized in the US is because we've been backed in the corner. And now it's inevitable that either we destroy ourselves as a civilization or we figure out the tools to get out of these stressors. So I'm really excited for many things, but definitely the decriminalization of ancient plants that are assisting people in, releasing things like PTSD and other types of ailments.
Well, I got to say, man, I could talk to you all freaking night, but we got to get out of here. If one more time, please, portals2ascension.org. Shout out your events. Any other thing you want to tell our audience before we let you go?
So yes, we do have a lot of events coming up. Check it out, portals2ascension.org. A few of the upcoming ones: Quantum Timeline Jumping Conference next week, Saturday. Sound and Vibration course with my wife and myself on July 7th. John D'Souza, he's doing a paranormal investigator course. So if you want to learn how the FBI investigates paranormal cases and learn all the tools and techniques from an ex-FBI agent that was in charge of all the paranormal documents, that's a good one for you. Sacred Sites online conference after that. Hybrids 2-day online conference. Mysteries of Human Origins, A Greater Truth, academic study on UFOs and survey results on abduction experiences. Lots and lots of great information coming up. So check it out, portals2ascension.org. Plus, I'm going to be launching our new website very soon, which has thousands of more hours. And now, in regards to what I want to say to everybody, and, I guess I've been really saying this for the last year because things have really been chaotic for a lot of people. The chaos that I see in the world, I just see as growing pains, really.
Yes, sir.
It's almost like we're at the singularity right now. Whereas a few hundred years ago, imagine humanity around the size of a black hole, and imagine a few hundred years ago, we're at the end of the side of the black hole, and it will take us like 100 years just to go back to the same point. And as the time progressed, we started going closer and closer to the center, to the event horizon of the black hole. And now we're right on the edge of the event horizon, and we're spinning around every single day, going to the same spot every single day, having these same experiences being confronted with us. Because one, consciousness is expanding, time isn't accelerating, time is still the same construct. Consciousness is expanding, and then two, we have so much stimuli right now that we're literally getting experiences to transcend every single moment, right? So that's what's happening right now, is us having the ability and the opportunity to transcend. And that's what we need to do, is just continue doing the inner work, stay in positive light, but realize that there really is no reason to fear. The cycles of time, the ancient scriptures, the texts that go back thousands of years, some of them 100,000 years, talking about cycles of time. We're on an upturn. This is just where we're supposed to be right now. At the end of every age, there's some sort of chaos that brings down the societal structures of that system that didn't work for us. So what are we seeing right now? We're seeing these structures starting to decay. As they decay, we're getting scared because what else is going to be there? Well, guess what? Food will still be there. Water will still be there. You'll still be alive. But these systems will change. And as they change, we might be uncomfortable for a while, but what
it'll be awesome
after that is going to be great.
Yeah, exactly. It'll definitely be awesome when it's all over. It'll be so worth it once you get on the other side. And we're going to do it together. Thanks again, Neil, for coming on, man. Really, this has been awesome. Totally
great.
All right. I think this was probably the coolest show that we've done.